Hello and welcome to the Escape Podcast, your source for all good things in the universe of movies. Join us as we explore the vast reaches of science fiction, fantasy, action-adventure, and beyond. I'm your host, David. And with me, as always, is my good friend and only other survivor of the USS You Can Dance If You Want To, Josh.
Hello there.
So, today, the movie on tap for discussion.
What is it?
Independence Day.
I don't know that one.
Hashtag ID4. It wasn't really a hashtag back then, but ID4 was all over marketing and toys and whatnot. I don't really exactly know. I mean, Independence Day 4, no, it's not the fourth movie. It's just on the 4th of July. So I guess it's just a weird, cool abbreviation. Anywho.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead, sir.
I remember we were on our 5th grade field trip to Canada, and we were at a mall there, and obviously, like, what was this movie, 96, I believe?
That was actually 6th grade, my good friend. 5th grade was a field trip to Greenfield Village.
You know what? I believe you are correct. I stand corrected.
Continue.
Anyway, we were in Canada on this 6th grade field trip, and I remember there was these banners that showed, like, the ships and like basically them hovering over like New York City or whatever, and I remember like not knowing anything about what it was but being really interested. I always loved science fiction movies, and because I didn't have the internet to myself at least.
Think about 2 years ago. I'm just kidding.
Oh well, yeah, but I mean even my family, we didn't have the internet to. Gee, I don't even know.
I remember you were very opposed to getting
to the to sometime in the early 2000s. I think
my
family.
That sounds about right. I remember
everything I had to do. I always had to go to your house to get any kind of anything.
You did not want to move along with the times.
I'm strange. I'm a strange one.
I'm stranger.
Anyway, so yes, Independence
Day. My best friend. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yes. So, Independence Day, one thing I love about Independence Day is it's a perfect mix of your typical sci-fi movie and your typical military shoot-'em-up kind of movie. It's a perfect blending of the two. I really like that about this movie, because growing up, my father was really into war movies and army movies, and so there's that aspect that I kind of noticed as a kid when I first saw it. And this was actually the first movie that I went and saw multiple times in the theater. Before this movie, anytime I ever saw a movie in the theater, I only went that one time and that was it. But this movie came out and I loved it so much that I was like, the thought occurred to me. I remember one day thinking, wow, I could go see it again if I wanted to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So,
who'd you drag with to see it? Your mom or your dad?
Well, no. The first time we went, it was with my mom and dad and my brother, Matthew.
Now, how did were they okay with it? Or?
Yeah, we. I mean, there were some scenes where I was like, awkward watching it, but I mean, the second time I went, I think it was just with my dad and my friend Lance. We went.
Oh, Lance.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember Lance.
Yep. So we went with the three of us, and I think maybe there was a third time I saw it again. I'm not exactly sure, but so I really like. So there's so many things about this movie that I just love. I love the intro for one. I love how there's like that cool shot of the moon landing scene, and you see like all the stuff from Neil Armstrong and Buzz and their whole thing that they left behind, the little plaque on the surface of the moon, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I love how they don't really take all day getting to it. Like, it's, a lot of these movies now, it seems like there's a lot of build-up, or there has to be a lot of backstory, and, you don't always need that. Sometimes you can just pretty much get right to it. Agreed. And I like the way they did that,
Yeah. One of the funny things about the first few minutes of the movie is, bam, there's the dad from Wonder Years. He's a general.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, there's the dad from the Wonder Years.
Oh, man, I wish I could remember his name.
I don't remember. I think he's actually...
But yeah, that's the only thing I can really significantly think of him from.
I think he passed away, though, about sometime in the last 5 years. But he was in that movie, and I'm pretty sure that's the only thing. You know what? He was one time he made an appearance in an episode of the first season of Smallville.
Okay.
As like an athletic coach or football coach or something. But other than those three things, I don't think I ever saw him in anything else. Okay, his name's Dan Lauria. Lauria? I'm not sure.
No, he's alive.
Oh, he is alive.
All right.
My mistake.
I'm glad you're still with us, Dan.
I must be thinking of someone else. Anyway.
Yeah.
So let's see. What else can we talk about?
I think that's about it. I think we should call it. That's
no, so much. You know what? There's there's a lot of cool Easter eggs in this movie.
Okay.
And you know, the old the classic sci-fi movie War of the Worlds from the 50s, I believe, sometime in the 50s that movie came out. A lot of that movie influenced this movie.
I know they used a clip of The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original 50s version, which I remember watching with my dad.
There's a scene where some children are watching television in an RV, and you can briefly see a clip of The Day the Earth Stood Still, actually, right on the screen.
Yeah.
And,
did you see that movie?
Playing on their set. Yeah.
You ever seen the original?
Yeah.
I know they remade it with Keanu.
Been
I
many,
did not
many
see that
years.
version.
No, I didn't see the remake.
Yeah. I don't feel I need to either.
I mean, more Easter eggs. You could talk about so many Easter eggs. One of them I like is the "Good Morning, Dave" reference on the laptop.
I would have never
from 2001: A Space
caught
Odyssey.
That keen eye.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I remember. Obviously, we're huge fans of Star Trek. I remember when there's Brent Spiner, Data.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, it's Data.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
I'd never seen him like that. Like I never seen him look like a person.
Well, I think it's kind of funny because I actually saw this movie way before I was ever a self-described Star Trek fan.
Really? I did not know that.
So, I mean, I watched Star Trek with my dad at home every now and then, but I wasn't really, like, a fan. I was just, like, aware of it. And
Gotcha.
That was it.
Okay.
And so I recognized the actor playing that character from Star Trek, and I knew him. I knew him as the guy with the, the white face and the yellow shirt. But,
racist.
Anywho, so
why's he got to be white?
Yeah. Why does he have to be white? I don't know.
Right.
Why do I got to be the Black Ranger? Anyway, David and his dad are in the car on the way to the White House.
Yes.
In that one scene, and it's absolutely hilarious. The back and forth, the banter, and you see you see him say "must go faster" in in the car. They're referencing. He's talking.
His line in Jurassic Park.
Well, that line came later in the movie, but in the car when they're on the way to the White House, I'm saying he says to his dad, "Can't this thing go any faster?" Because they're trying. His dad's driving. He's trying to go the speed limit.
Right.
Everyone's going on the other direction of the freeway, trying to get out of the city.
Right.
They're going into the city, and he says, "Can't this thing go any faster?" Which was funny because. It's another way of saying must go faster.
Well, he also said it, I thought, again,
he did see it
the end of the movie about getting out of the mothership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was funny. And what else can we talk about?
Well, I mean, I always thought I liked the way I noticed a few movies have copied this since. I'm not saying Independence Day is the first to do it, but like the way you basically got like a couple groups of your characters. You got Randy Quaid, the drunk crop duster pilot, and like his kids and what's going on there. Then you jump over, you got Jeff Goldblum and his people, his situation. You jump over, you got Will Smith and his girlfriend, and then that pilot friend of his, and then you got the president and all his people, and then you kind of jump around, you get to know all these people, and then finally they all pretty much meet. I think. The only one that didn't meet, didn't somebody not meet? Oh, I don't know, whatevs. But I know some movies like Transformers kind of did that, where they have a few groups of people you get to see, and then finally they kind of all meet up. And I know AVP did that, but I think this one probably did it the best. I just thought that was kind of a cool way to tell the story.
Yeah, and Randy Quaid, I gotta say, he's really funny. I loved him as Eddie in
Christmas Vacation. Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Bill Pullman as the president. I mean,
that's
probably one of the
great.
best movie portrayals of a president ever.
I would say so, yeah.
I mean, that speech, everyone,
Yeah.
it's like one of the highlights of that movie, the big, motivational speech.
Spine-tingling speech.
Yeah.
Gives you chills. So I really thought it was funny when he pulls out his laptop in the car when they're outside of the White House,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got his little disc that he puts in, and it's a mini disc.
Oh.
And he puts in the mini disc, and he says, it's, quote, every phone book in America on a mini disc. How is that possible?
I had a mini disc.
Yeah, but
but it's
every phone book.
Maybe it's more
in
like
America.
not literal. It's like saying
that was the word verbatim quote.
I know, but maybe it's more like well, gee, this is I don't know, as big as a house. It doesn't mean it's literally, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
a
Well,
speech,
I mean,
don't know.
yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
I liked how they kept the aliens a mystery, like the actual seeing them. I like how.
Now I'm not sure if the sequel addresses that, but because I haven't seen the sequel.
Neither have I. But what do you mean?
As far as the mystery around the aliens.
Well, I figure it's a sequel. Everyone, assuming seen the first one, they know what they. I'm saying I liked how this movie doesn't show them right away. It kind of is a little bit of a mystery of what they look like and what they want or they're all about or why. But yeah, I would assume that the sequel. I mean, you've already seen them, so I mean, it'd be kind of silly if they were different aliens. Why would different aliens be coming here to mess with us?
Now, I will say this about Independence Day: tons of Star Wars nods, tons of references to Star
let's hear 'em.
Wars. For one of my favorites, it's kind of funny.
Okay.
There's a man of Asian descent.
Okay.
And he's
like Russian?
No, he's I don't.
Oh, like India?
No.
I'm being silly. I'm being silly because Russia is a part of.
Just let me talk.
Okay.
Okay, so he's Asian.
Okay, I think I understand.
And there's a part where he says, "quote There's too many of them."
Okay.
He's one of the
was
pilots.
Was that the guy in Return of the Jedi who said that?
There was an Asian character in Return of the Jedi who also said, "There's too many of them."
Do you think
right before being killed?
Do you think that's
the same thing happened to this pilot?
Intentional?
I think it's intentional.
Okay. I don't know,
because there was an Asian character who was flying a jet.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he says, "There's too many of them."
And then he crashes
right
into
before
the
he gets
Star
destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, right after he said that, he proceeded to die from an alien. Let's see, what else can we talk about as far as Star Wars? Oh, so the style, the composition, and the arrangement of the music at the end credits is done in a very similar way to all the Star Wars movies end credit scenes.
Who did the music for this?
It's another Star Wars reference that the director made. The director is Roland Emmerich.
Okay, I was just trying to see. Okay, so the music was.
He's a big fan.
David Arnold. I'm not familiar with him.
I'm not sure. I've not heard of him. Yeah. So let's see. The scene where Will Smith's character is getting married.
Mm-hmm.
The Reverend is Rance Howard, the actor Rance Howard.
Rance Howard.
He is the father of Ron Howard and Clint Howard.
It's funny, I could see that now.
He's the grandfather of Bryce Howard.
Okay.
So, and Bryce Howard, she's all over the place now. She was in Jurassic World, all that. But Rance Howard, he's been around for a long time.
Okay.
He's been in so many, some of these movies, he plays some really similar characters, but they're all I always get so excited when I see Rance because he's just a delight. He was, I think he was a cop in at the end of the movie The Burbs.
Oh, and some old man says you left a note said you kidnapped his dog.
Yep, that was him.
Yeah.
Let's see what else he was in. He was in he was in this, obviously.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
I'm just gathering my thoughts here. What else? He was in the movie Dewey Cox, the movie called Walk Hard, the story of Dewey Cox.
I know the movie.
Fictional
I didn't
Johnny
see it.
Cash parody.
Okay.
He played. He was in that. Let's see. He's been a reverend in a bunch of things. Let's see. He was in the most recent X-Files renewal.
Okay.
He was in one of the episodes of the new X-Files season from last year, or from earlier this year. And I don't remember exactly the type of character.
Okay, I got it. He was in
him.
Apollo 13, Cinderella Man,
Yep.
A Beautiful Mind,
Yep.
The Grinch.
Yep. Tons of stuff.
Parenthood, The Burbs, Independence Day. Looks like the '98 redo of Psycho. Yeah. So, Jonah Hex.
Yeah.
Mars Attacks, Small Soldiers. Okay, so quite a few.
He was, but I gotta say again about him and Dewey Cox, it was hilarious. There was a scene where I'm just gonna go off on a little thing about Dewey Cox because it's a really funny movie.
Dewey Cox is a really good sci-fi movie too. Yeah.
There's this scene where Dewey Cox is playing a song, and the name of the song is called "I Want to Hold Your Hand."
Okay.
And it's a really cheesy like '60s pop song.
Okay.
And he's a reverend in the crowd who's against it, like rock and roll is the devil and it's evil.
Yeah.
And so he stands up and he says, "You know who else has hands? The devil, and he uses them for holding."
That's
so
pretty funny.
He's just great.
I'll have to check that out sometime.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
I own it. We should watch it
Okay.
sometime. So anyway, yeah, he's great. I love seeing him. Every time I see him in movies, I get all giddy. So let's see. What else can we talk about with this movie?
Wait, but I already forgot. How was this still a part of the Star Wars references?
Oh no, I think we're moving on.
Oh, we moved on from that. Keep up with people.
Well, there is one more Star Wars reference I'll talk about, but it's going to be a sub point to something else I'm going to eventually get to. So, one thing I found was really weird about this movie.
Okay.
So, Russell flew his plane just at the right moment in a kamikaze attempt to disable the aliens.
Well, he wasn't originally going to kamikaze.
No.
That was after his missile.
It was a last minute
resort.
decision.
Yeah.
So he's flying in this kamikaze attempt to disable the aliens that had no actual guarantee of success.
Well, yeah.
Let's face it. He could have just exploded right there at the tip of that primary weapon.
Because it looked like he was actually flying into the laser.
Yeah.
I never understood that either.
He could have just exploded right there and then, and it would have had no effect on the ship that he was flying towards, which would have. I mean, it wouldn't have been harmful to the aliens in any way. Yet somehow, for whatever reason, he succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the president goes to he says, "Spread the word," and to tell all the other countries how to do that. So, what does the president want these other countries? Do all the other countries who are fighting these alien ships have to choose one pilot to kamikaze themselves into the primary weapon?
Assuming the
on the
missile
ship
works.
in an attempt to try to do the same thing with no guarantee of success, bring down the aliens. I thought that was a little strange.
Well, again, though, if he would have had his missile working, he wouldn't have had to do that.
Right. I mean, but even so, with one missile, take it down. I mean, it's just like, I feel like this was kind of a weird cop-out for a way to kind of resolve the problem. I feel like there should have been something more like something more guaranteed. Like, we figured out the right way to get these aliens, and it is guaranteed to work, and tell all the other countries who are fighting them to do the same thing.
I guess it really is that we had the ability to do it if we could get around their shields, really, is all it was. Because once the shields were out, they could fire and cause damage. They just weren't, remember, I think they even said at one point, we're not causing enough damage.
Yeah.
But real quick...
So, I mean, they need... it seems like they do need... a more guaranteed way to cause more damage, and I don't know if that's the way to go.
Real quick, and then I was doing some research, and I guess in the original test footage that they showed test audience, it was that he was Randy Quaid's character was going to have his crop dusting plane from the beginning of the movie. He was going to have somehow rigged it to do I can't remember if it was to have missile on it or something he was going to have, but basically he was going
maybe
to
an H-bomb.
something. But basically
that
he was
would probably do it.
yeah, and everyone else. But anyway, he was going to use that plane to fly while all the jets and the spaceships were flying around. He was going to be flying that little plane.
Yeah.
And I guess some of the test audience that they showed just thought it was too ridiculous, and they had to do a last minute effects change or something to make it now. Actually, they would probably have to do reshoots because all the close-ups of him in the jet fighter cockpit would have to be shot to overdo the one of him in the
that sounds
plane.
about right.
But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I never knew that he was supposed to be in his little crop dusting plane.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a certain plot device of this movie that ever since this movie I've seen duplicated in multiple other movies.
Okay.
The plot device of disabling the mothership in an attempt to disable corresponding ships below.
What
it is a concept
Okay.
that has been replicated in many movies since then.
Okay.
And I'll name a few here.
All right.
Star Wars Episode 1.
Yep.
There's my Star Wars reference again.
Okay.
They disable the big thing in space, and then suddenly all the battle droids
that makes sense.
and all the other ships and
I
go
remember
out.
that.
They go black. And then
Why does it gotta be black? Struggling.
had to make it weird. No. And so another
you
movie.
said you're a stranger.
Another movie to do this was
Yes.
the Avengers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which that made no sense. I know why they did it because, I mean, basically the movie had already gone on for however long. They couldn't have another 2-hour part where they're just cleaning up all the leftover soldiers.
Yeah.
But basically that one thing was like a giant flying whale snake monster thing, and it really makes no sense why blowing up their mothership in space would make an animal, because it basically was an alien animal. Why would that thing would just nosedive into a thingamajig?
Speaking of those Avengers creatures, I mean, they always kind of struck me as like
well, it looks like they put
like cybernetic type things.
I always took it as it was a living creature, but it just had like armor on it, kind of like you ever watch like
I guess
like old movies where they put like their horses and they would have like armor on their horses. Or do you remember Dino Riders? Anybody remember Dino Riders? Anyone besides me? It was a great cartoon.
I do not recall.
Well,
such
anyway,
things.
they put like armor and guns on different dinosaurs and use them into battle. Look it up, Dino Riders.
I'll Google it.
Okay.
I'll Bing it.
Not now.
So 1996. It's a good year.
It was a great year. That was
Star
when I was
Trek
coming into my own.
Star Trek First Contact came out the same year.
Yes.
And in this movie, I noticed some interesting things. The color scheme of the inside of the alien ships, the outside, there's a very similar color scheme to the Borg ships. It's very black and green.
That's funny you say that, because I was going to say, not to bring up our last episode on the Star Trek The Motion Picture, but I kind of felt when they go into the mothership in this movie, it very much reminded me of the motion picture of V'ger's interior, just how big it was and just the big openness of it.
Without all the agonizing scenes of watching it. And so, but anyway, not only is the color scheme similar, but I'm pretty sure I noticed some identical sound effects being used.
Okay.
Like,
I will take your word on that.
When they're inside, and it might not be sound effects, it might just be like music effects to give, that kind of ominous, presence for the scenes.
Background ambient noise or whatever.
I really feel like I noticed some of those that were in First Contact as well.
Maybe, I don't know.
And I'm not exactly sure, but
okay.
Don't quote me on that.
You're quoted. It's recorded.
So, that is that's really all I got to say about this movie.
I thought it was really. I like the turnaround they did for Randy Quaid. I think his name was Russ in the movie. Just like it was kind of. I thought it was good or really nice how they, he really turned his whole thing. I mean, he was basically just this drunk. His kids were embarrassed. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Russell.
Russ, same thing.
Yeah. his kids are kind of embarrassed of him. He messes everything up. In his town, he's kind of the local idiot. And basically, he's kind of the guy.
You just reminded me of something else. Keep going on.
That's basically, he's kind of the guy that ultimately saves the day, at least for our end of the world.
I think it's kind of weird that in the beginning of the movie, every time Russell talks about every time Russell talks about
what
being
is every time what who every time who talks. I'm making fun of you. I'm just teasing. Okay. Every time Russell does.
Huh?
Every time Russell
talks about being kidnapped by aliens.
Yes.
They all laugh at him, and it's like this funny thing, like,
I noticed,
stupid Russell.
But when aliens
He's
come,
so
it's
dumb.
like it's so.
But even after the aliens come,
Yeah.
like, he will mention it. I think there was a couple times where he mentioned, maybe one other time, he mentioned it again after the aliens had already been destroying Earth.
And people still act like it's nuts.
He said when he was recruited to fly the jet, he said, ever since I was kidnapped by aliens 10 years ago, there's some guy looking at him like rolling his eyes and going, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
Aliens aren't real.
Right. And I thought the same thing when...
Like, what is it going to take for people to believe this guy?
In Air Force One, when they escaped on Air Force One, and basically David's father, he was talking about, you guys knew, back in the 50s when you had the ship that crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico, and you had it in Area 51, and everyone rolls their eyes like, Area 51, that we never had a ship crash. That's that is, it's kind of silly. But yeah.
It's a good plot device, I guess, but it just don't make no sense to me, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. But I heard that basically for the alien design, there was 2 designs that they came up with, and the director liked them both so much that he basically had them mix them. So and that's how they came up with the idea of basically a biomechanical suit. That basically the true alien is obviously the smaller one. Yeah. But the bigger one is and from what I've seen of the trailer of the new one, I don't know if you noticed a part where it looks like this huge foot.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm wondering if that's what they're basically going to say. They've made larger biomechanical suits for these aliens to operate.
It's not a stretch of the imagination.
Which is almost like Power Ranger territory, where basically like you have this huge, giant suit.
Make my monster growl!
Yes. And basically there's some little...
it's morphin' time!
Yes. Some little guy...
We need dinosaur power! No!
And you're going to wake up your kids.
I don't care.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
you can put them back to sleep.
Oh, okay.
It's your turn.
Okay. Anyway.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean... So we were in Power Ranger territory and you caused me to go off on a thing. Yeah. So what were you saying?
Oh, anyway, just that basically it almost looks like basically these aliens cooked up a giant suit that one of them or maybe more, I don't know. But one thing I always wondered about. Okay, so like you saw when they're flying through the mothership that there's all those like alien foot soldiers, and like I think Jeff Goldblum says like wonder what they're all doing, and he said Will Smith says looks like they're planning an invasion. Now I thought okay. When we finally took them down, some of these ships, it's not like these ships like fell to Earth and they just blew up. Some of them basically you would think, okay, there's still 1 million or so soldiers in there that at some point they're probably going to bust down the door and start running around on foot like with, some kind of gun. So I always thought like, wouldn't it be kind of cool in the sequel? I don't know if the sequel covers this at all. But like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if you saw how basically we had to send like huge squadrons of like the army soldiers like into these cities? No, I'm saying into the ship that's now landed. Like it's fallen to Earth, but it's still intact relatively. Like literally, but remember it's city side. It's a city size ship, so like you would think at some point we would have to go in there and explore this giant ship and take them out before they start busting out of their ship to shoot us on foot. I always thought that was kind of a cool idea for the sequel, which I don't know yet if they at all covered what happened right after. I mean, obviously I know I did think it was cool that they, which I thought about this too, like you have, okay, these ships, surely we could figure out how to incorporate that kind of technology into ours. And I see they are doing it where basically now we have like basically jets that you can fly like a jet, or you can take it out in space like a little, like almost like an X-wing, and just fly it around. And we probably have like, we can do shields and obviously like laser.
There should be a third movie.
I think they are trying to do a third
really?
movie. I heard they're trying to do a
Well, they should
trilogy.
do a third movie where they take a bunch of humans and go invade their alien homeworld.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah. Or maybe we can make
back in your face.
A giant human biomechanical suit that we can get inside of. That seems gross, don't it? Like, think about it. Like,
yeah.
Because he was literally...
My first thought is General Grievous from Star Wars Episode 3. Like, a giant version of General Grievous made of all, like, these crazy, bony, slimy elements.
But what's funny
with a human pilot inside of it.
Well, but okay, even in that movie, remember, they had to cut away, like, little pieces of flesh to get to his real head. So, like, can you imagine if that was real? You're inside, like, this giant...
Basically, you're inside a cadaver.
Exactly. That's so gross.
You're in... And I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Yeah. It's pretty nasty. But, under rewatching this movie, I think it actually holds up pretty decently well. Like, it's not perfect, but it is a fun movie. I really can't criticize it too much on stuff. Yeah, there's maybe some stuff that, obviously, like, just, you can tell it's 1996, like, just the way they're dressed or the tech they use. But
it's a slightly dated movie.
That doesn't
dated.
make it bad, and... I
agree. It's good.
But like you say, it's funny enough. It's action enough.
Yeah.
The sci-fi element. It's a fun movie.
And that's the way. I like it.
Right.
Village people.
Is that who's saying that? that's not the point.
Just
right now.
quoting Austin Powers.
Oh, okay. I'm not up on that. So, I think that's about all we have to say about that. So, do you want to talk about any movie news or any movies you were looking forward to seeing? Or
well, like I do have lots on my, excitement list that I'm excited to see.
Tell me about it.
This is going to sound cheesy, but I got kids, so it's not cheesy to me. I'm actually really excited to see The Secret Life of Pets.
I heard it did really well.
I'm really excited to take my kids.
Okay.
Well, probably just take my daughter because
right.
my son is too little.
Right.
But I'll take my daughter and my wife, and we'll go see that movie, the three of us. I'm really excited about it. It looks pretty funny. Zootopia was funny.
Okay.
I just saw that recently.
I didn't see that one.
Obviously, the sloth scene is like the big scene.
I saw that in
really
the trailer for it.
It's so funny. I'm not sure if it's... I think I heard it was the same people that made the Lego movie that is making The Secret Life of Pets.
I did not care for the Lego movie.
I
think I'm like the
good.
only one that did not... I don't know.
Everything is awesome.
I just didn't care for it. I'm really behind on movies like...
Yeah. The last Marvel movie you saw was Age of Ultron. You haven't seen Ant-Man or Civil War.
I didn't really want to see Ant-Man. To be honest, I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but like, it just... kind of looked silly to me.
It's a bit campier, and it's more of a Marvel comedy.
And I will also say...
But it's enjoyable.
That even, like, personally, I didn't care for Guardians. I know a lot of people liked it. I did not care for it.
It took me some time. My wife loves it.
Okay.
It took me a few viewings of it to get used to it, but now that I've seen it a few times, I can appreciate it.
But I think there's...
It gets better each time I see it, I think.
Okay. I just kind of, I think, a little burnt out on Marvel. It's not that they do bad movies, but I just kind of feel like there's one every year, and I know for a lot of people that's a good thing, but for me at this point, it kind of feels like I almost need a break from these characters and storylines, and it kind of feels like it's just overkill, oversaturation of, of all this kind of stuff. But
I can appreciate that. I could understand why you would be burnt out. I personally can't get enough, and I want more.
Yeah, I
can't get burnt out.
I also kind of feel like, personally, I don't feel like the Guardians should mix with the Avengers movies. And I know in the comic books that's the way it worked, but I kind of feel like they're so...
Yeah.
It's such a different type of thing. I almost feel like it doesn't seem like it will mix well, at least for the cinematic version.
You saw Ultron, though,
I did.
So you did see how they started to make some
and I knew
connections.
that, I think they was that the first one they made the connection with the Guardians universe?
Yeah, because they showed the stones. And
Stones, okay.
those were the same stones in Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, I know it does all mix, intertwine, but I just kind of feel like I gotta adjust my legs, people. Let me get a little cozy here with you. I just feel like it's a little much.
Yeah,
I do want to.
I can see that.
I do still want to see Batman vs Superman. I haven't seen it yet.
So good. So yeah.
And you're like the only one who said that.
Whew.
Now.
So well, I mean, I'm a fanboy.
Yes, you are a big, especially Superman.
Not only am I a fanboy, I'm an equal opportunity, cautiously optimistic fanboy.
Okay.
So
I don't spoil anything for me here.
Even like the Owl City lyrics say, every mushroom cloud has a silver lining.
Okay.
Meaning, even if it's a terrible thing, there's always something good about it.
Okay.
No, but I wouldn't describe Batman vs Superman as a terrible thing. I'm just saying. Anyway.
So I just saw that the Ultimate Cut, or whatever they're calling it, is rated R.
Yes, it's rated R. It's
for
3
violence.
hours long.
Wow, dang.
The theatrical version, PG-13, and it's like 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So they've added a half an hour of movie.
Okay.
And they've upped it up to an R rating. And
from
what I understand, it's because there's more violence, and I think there might be some swearing.
Do you think they're trying to do, like, jump on the Deadpool bandwagon of, hey, they did an R-rated movie that did really well.
No,
Let's
not
make
at
it
all.
rated R.
No, not at all.
Maybe that will...
Not at all. Because this movie came out, as far as I know, came out before Deadpool, correct?
Maybe,
I'm not sure.
But I'm saying by doing the Ultimate Cut or Director's Cut or whatever they're calling it and making it rated R.
Well, no, because here's the story.
They're trying to entice people to,
Here's the story, from what I understand,
okay,
of this particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was originally intended to be 3 hours long, but they had to cut it down for time and for rating. And so they cut out all the stuff that would have made it 3 hours and R-rated.
Okay.
Here's my take on it. I watched the Ultimate Extended Edition with my brother Daniel the
How'd
other
you get
night,
it? Is it already out?
It's available for digital on demand in certain cable providers.
Gotcha. Okay.
And but it doesn't come out on Blu-ray and DVD till later in the month.
Okay.
But I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the theatrical version, and I understand why this movie got a lot of heat from a lot of critics from the theatrical version, because there was a lot of stuff in the movie, and it just wasn't. It felt a little disjointed, but in theatrical, the extended edition,
okay,
those points are much more connected.
Okay.
The movie has better flow, way better flow.
Do you feel like, though, having seen the theatrical cut, it kind of almost like, man, I wish I could have just waited and saw this cut?
Oh, no, not at all.
No?
I'm glad I saw the theatrical version. However,
Mm-hmm.
I do not ever see myself sitting down to watch this movie again if it's not the Ultimate Edition.
See, when I do get around to seeing it, I do plan to see... I want to see if it's as bad.
Versions?
Yeah, I want to see if it's as bad as people claim. So I would like to see the theatrical cut first, then watch the Ultimate Cut.
Now, keep in mind, though, a lot of the heat and the critique that this movie got was from people that were expecting a Marvel-esque DC movie.
Well, that's...
And it's not.
I feel like
unfair.
They really just rushed it too much. I think, okay, let's face it, Marvel's been doing, great all in all, even though I don't think every movie was gold. But regardless, they're doing a lot of good stuff. And I think they just tried, I get the impression they tried way too hard to get up to an Avengers status, where Marvel took their time introducing each character, having their solo movies, and then you put them together. And I just think they rushed it too much.
Well, here's the thing with that, is after The Dark Knight Rises, they decided to reboot Batman and Superman, because I wouldn't say they rushed. I would say, given their circumstances and their situation, they played the cards they were dealt. They couldn't use the Christian Bale Batman.
Well, no,
but they didn't want to do another origin story either. Right. So they're not going to do more Batman origin solo movies after we've just been inundated with Batman solo movies.
Yeah,
for the last
I think
decade.
Nobody ever needs to see how Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man or Batman becomes Batman ever again.
And Superman, same thing. And now I understand that when they rebooted Superman for Man of Steel in 2013, this was the first time that... See, here's the thing. We got Superman Returns from 2006.
Mm-hmm.
It flopped.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
I didn't care for it. I only saw it one time.
See, Superman in the comics, he does like to throw down, and he does kill people sometimes, and even in some of the past, like even in the Christopher Reeve movies, he killed Zod, and he killed like the other Krypton.
Spoiler alert! Gee, I need to watch that.
But like Man of Steel came out, and they really, he got a lot of flack for being a dark Superman who kills people, and it's like, well, it's not really a new thing for Superman to kill someone if he has to do it. If it comes down to it, he's gonna stop the bad guy no matter what it takes. And
I do remember just thinking when I saw Man of Steel, like as they were like literally like flinging each other into buildings, and all these buildings are collapsing into other buildings on the street. I remember thinking like, aren't there people in these buildings and on the streets? Like, my goodness,
and they addressed that big time in Batman vs.
Right, because he's why he's on trial or whatever.
But they, it's just, and this is kind of a plot point that bothered me about Captain America Civil War too, is that they touch on all the collateral damage that happens every time there's a big superhero battle in the streets of a city somewhere. They talk about it in Civil War, and my thought is, well, yeah, in reality, if there was a super person battling another super person, there's gonna be collateral there's gonna be people who get killed in the process, and buildings that get destroyed when you got a superhuman flinging another superhuman around in the streets trying to disable him or destroy him.
It's just like, I wish they would have
it's gonna happen.
Added his power that he had from Superman 4, where he could like look at things and they would just rebuild and stuff, and like lower people safely. Stuff like that would have really would have helped out.
Yeah,
but
good times there. So okay, I'm losing my thoughts here. I'm gonna have to edit that part out.
Who cares?
So there was a lawsuit, and there was this whole thing after Superman Returns didn't do what they wanted to do for the Superman franchise. They were like, look, we need to make a version of Superman on screen that works, or you're gonna lose the rights, the film rights to Superman. So they only had a certain amount of time to get like an idea together, and so the Superman movies were kind of taken back to the drawing board, so to speak, and they looked at the success of the Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale trilogy. They looked at that and they're like, okay, let's do something like that, but for Superman, because that formula works, and we need to save this franchise. Okay. So they did that, and that was how we got Man of Steel. We got a Christian.
But you liked Man of Steel, correct?
I love Man of Steel.
Now, which one's better, Superman Returns or that one? Man of Steel.
Are you for real?
I don't know. You're the Superman fan.
Superman Returns is terrible.
What's so terrible about it?
It's basically the Pearl Harbor of comic book movies. Okay. And by that,
it's more about the love story.
Exactly. In Superman Returns, we get this love story that's basically, Superman doesn't throw a single punch on no one. He doesn't really get, there's no like, it's just like a soap opera. With Superman, a soup opera. So it's all about that mostly, and Superman went on Maury and found out he is the father of that little boy. And so it's like, it's that, and it's another rehashing of a Lex Luthor real estate scheme.
I think it's weird that it was supposed to be kind of a sequel to the first two movies, right?
It was supposed to be a semi-sequel. What they did was they took the first two Superman movies,
kind of pretend the other two didn't happen.
Make a sequel, a story that was a sequel to the story of the first two Superman movies of Christopher Reeve. And so you get a modern 2006 era Superman movie, which is based off of the events of the first two movies from the 70s and 80s.
I guess what I think's so weird about it is obviously you look at
not a direct sequel though.
Right, but I remember thinking like, wait, this is kind of connected to those last movies, but like the time, like he's only supposed to be gone 6 years or something, they say, and it's like the world has changed so much in your absence. Like I don't know, I just kind of thought like, oh, it was weird.
It was weird. It's a weird movie. I mean, there's a few parts of the movie that, oh, that's cool to watch, or that's fun to watch, or I like that part. But I literally can count on one hand how many things about Superman Returns that I like. So I like the fight scene on when Lex stabs Superman with the shard of kryptonite rock.
Okay, I kind of remember that.
And then he kicks him off the cliff and he falls down, plummets to the water below. I
Wow,
like that.
yeah.
That was cool. I mean, because it was like, the fans of Superman have always wanted a Superman movie that you could write home about. See, so the first two Superman movies, for when they came out, they did that.
Okay.
But it was just really strange, and there wasn't. I don't know. A lot of fans today, who are my age, they own Superman movies with Christopher Reeve purely for nostalgia, and because they grew up with them, because they were cool as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was the intended audience for the original Superman movies were kids, and they were really super, and I mean, not as campy as Adam West Batman,
Mm-hmm.
but really campy, really cheesy, fly around the earth to turn back time cheesiness going on. It just doesn't really require a lot of intellect, or it doesn't really challenge you to sit through a Superman movie with Christopher Reeve.
I don't think I've ever actually seen
I love the
first
John
two
Williams
Superman's
music,
completely,
Yeah.
100% through. I remember as a kid catching, I think what I now know is Superman 4, but I kind of remember catching it on
Yeah.
TV when they televised it, but I don't know if I've ever actually seen all these movies all the way through.
So yeah, and that's another thing about Superman Returns. That's another thing I do like, is they use pretty much the John Williams score, which I think is like one of the best scores of all time, is the Superman music
Okay.
from his
Did you
score.
ever, I doubt you have, but I'll ask anyway. Have you ever seen Masters of the Universe, which is He-Man,
Yeah,
the movie?
No, I haven't.
I am I enjoy the cheesy side of sci-fi.
Mm.
You know, that I find enjoyment out of like bad movies. Anyway, the Masters of the Universe movie, the sound, I can't remember if it's John Williams offhand, but the theme is almost identical to the Superman music. That's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so, but as far as music in a Superman movie is concerned, I really actually enjoy the new music, too. Because, well, it's the same composer as the Batman Begins Dark Knight music. And, it's,
I think you're getting a little too far away from there.
it's, the composer who does it, because he just got done doing Dark Knight Rises,
Mm-hmm.
and he was gonna try to do a superhero theme that was set apart somehow from the Batman music.
What
But-
did you do to my iPod Touch?
And
You stupid jerk.
let's see, just looking for the composer here.
Uh-huh. I'm just glad that they didn't try to make the Man of Steel universe in the same universe as the Dark Knight series.
Oh yeah, that was
The one thing I really like about the Dark Knight is that it's like how Batman could exist.
Hans Zimmer.
Okay, how he could exist in the real world.
Yeah,
So I like that nothing's really supernatural or science fiction about it. They made even his villains as realistic as possible, and
Yeah.
I remember kind of thinking, oh man, they're kind of mess it up. Like now there's supposed to be aliens in this universe, and
yeah.
I was really glad they didn't try to
Well,
say
you know,
this was happening while
I
he was over
get
there.
that. I kind of disagree with that, though. I always wanted... See, because there's nothing really about the Batman Begins, Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan Batman movies that would say, this... I mean, let me start over. There's nothing about those Batman movies that is... that makes it very clear that in this universe there is no Superman, there's
Really?
no aliens, there's nothing outside of
I don't
Earth.
know, I thought it was.
I mean,
I don't think they had to say it, but I just always got the impression this is basically our real world. There's no mutated or cybernetic alien supernatural beings or anything, and just as real world as it could be.
I guess my philosophy is just because they don't show it doesn't mean it couldn't be.
I guess not, but I mean, I just think it's nice that you kind of get both. You get a realistic version of Batman, and now you get a
more comic book
where you have monsters and aliens and all this crazy stuff.
So and that's one thing about Batman vs Superman that I like is you go into Batman vs Superman as
the kids up?
No, as an audience member, you have already seen all the Batman movies prior to this one, and so you go into Batman vs Superman with this sense of, okay, I know the Batman story. They touch on the origins a little bit, with his parents getting shot and whatnot, but you go into it with this guy. He got orphaned as a kid. He became rich as he grew up. He used his wealth to create the Batman persona, and in Batman vs Superman, he's been Batman for 20 years.
Yeah,
and he's been doing his thing, and you kind of get that sense. It's kind of like this passive understanding of Batman from the Christian Bale movies, but it's not a direct sequel. Again, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like how Superman Returns was related to the Christopher Reeve movies.
Right.
That's kind of the same kind of connection I get between the Christian Bale and the Ben Affleck version of Batman.
If I can say, I found it interesting that, so obviously, I know, even though I haven't seen it, that Ben Affleck's version of Batman, he kills people in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
What I found interesting is a lot of people were like, well, wait a minute, Batman, he doesn't kill, that's like his one rule. But I mean, if you go back to 1989's Batman, he, he threw a guy off a bell tower thing.
Mm-hmm.
That one for sure.
Yeah.
He basically tried to kill the Joker. He was shooting all those missiles and those the machine gun when he was in the Batwing. So he was trying to kill him.
Yeah, yeah.
And even when he at one point invaded the plant where he was making all those chemicals, he drove the Batmobile through the door where anyone could have been standing. He could have killed them.
He set a bomb off.
Which killed who knows how many of Joker's men.
Bat bomb.
Yeah, and then everyone. But I just found it funny. Everyone's always, because obviously in the Nolan version, he has the one rule, which worked for that movie. But it was just funny because every other time he's not really had that rule.
Well, and he doesn't have it in the comics either.
Well, I've heard even some version of the comics. I've heard he even carries a gun.
Yeah, he does. I think he had a sniper rifle.
Okay.
In The Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
But or maybe it was a shotgun, or something with a long barrel. Anyway, so another thing about Batman vs Superman is we all know when it was announced that Ben Affleck would be Batman, the world probably simultaneously all at once cried out, "No!"
Mm-hmm. Like Vader?
Or Kirk screaming out Khan. But no! No, and everyone had this big upset thing about it, and I was on board that too.
Yeah.
At first it took me the longest time.
Well, that's how I felt about Heath Ledger as the Joker until I saw him, just hearing it, because I thought...
I had never really seen many Heath Ledger movies before.
It's not that I seen a lot of his movies, I just knew he's this pretty boy that's in these, a lot of these, romantic comedy type movies. So when I first heard about him as a Joker, I didn't think it was a good idea until I saw it. But
yeah, and so there was all this outcry, and there was all this protest, I guess, from fans, which is really funny to me because Michael Keaton had the same response.
Oh yeah, because he was only known as a comedic actor,
and no one wanted him.
Everyone had a big problem with that. Yeah.
But now here we are.
Yeah, and he's considered by many the pinnacle Batman.
And he's considered Batman royalty.
Oh, my mom prefers Keaton's Batman.
And
to
even when I was a teenager, before they started making new Batman movies, in that weird between time between Batman and Robin. And Batman Begins.
Yeah.
I considered Michael Keaton.
What was that again?
Batman Begins.
What was that reaction? Okay.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, see,
Joel Schumacher.
when I grew up, obviously I didn't never really know
I considered Michael
Keaton as anything else.
The best Batman. I considered him the best Batman of all time. But it's just so funny because the fans, had the huge disapproval about Michael Keaton because he wasn't big enough, he wasn't tall enough, he wasn't young enough,
and well, like I said, the
he
big
wasn't
thing,
built
he was a comedian. All his major movies before that, or at least most of them, were comedies.
I remember everyone was like, "They cast Mr. Mom as Batman."
Yeah,
that's not cool.
It'd be kind of interesting if they were to ever do try the Batman Beyond. Where basically Bruce is more of the mentor.
I've heard rumors.
And have Michael Keaton do it.
I've heard rumors of Michael Keaton reprising the role as Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond type thing. Rumors of him saying he would do it. I don't know if it's gonna ever materialize into anything, but that'd be super cool.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm saying all that to say this.
What are you trying to say?
Really enjoyed Ben Affleck as
Okay.
Batman.
All right.
It was really good.
Yeah.
He did the role justice. You can tell he put his heart and soul into the role. He did a lot of research into it. He's got the brooding, dark, even when he's not Batman, when he's Bruce Wayne in the movie.
Yeah.
You can tell, watching him on screen, I was afraid that it's I'm gonna see Bruce Wayne and I'm gonna think it's Bruce Affleck, Ben Wayne.
But
but no, it's when he comes off on screen as Bruce Wayne, he comes off as Bruce Wayne and as nothing else.
To give him credit, he has in more recent years been doing more serious or better quality, maybe is the better way to say it, movies from Argo.
Argo was so good.
What was that other one?
I loved Argo.
What about robbing a bank or something? Or what was it called? Well, there's a movie.
Heist.
I don't know. I can't remember offhand, but there was another movie. But anyway, he's been doing
the bank.
It seems like really trying to sharpen his craft.
Yeah. And I'm really excited about seeing
hone
him
his skills.
Yes. I'm really excited about seeing Ben Affleck as Batman again in Suicide Squad.
His craft.
And then in Justice League and all that good stuff.
Master his skill.
Yeah.
So, other movie that, by the way, do you have Terminator Genesis? I have not seen that movie.
I haven't seen it. I don't have it. The last movie I saw was Terminator Salvation.
I've heard, obviously, everyone hates that movie.
And the TV show was dumb.
I know...
The Sarah Connor Chronicles, I think it was called.
Yeah, I didn't see very many episodes, but, I know that most people did not like Terminator Genesis. I didn't expect it to do very well, and obviously it didn't, but I'm still willing to give it a chance. I just haven't got around to it, but
you and I should sit down and watch that.
A friend of mine, actually a married couple friend of mine, you've met them, they actually said outside of Terminator 2, it was the best sequel.
Well, James Cameron actually went on record to say he considers Genesis the official third movie.
Really?
Even though it's the fifth.
Yeah.
Because apparently it is really good.
Well, I know it's kind of like going into the first and second film a little bit, and they tried to recreate a lot of shots as much as they could precisely.
I'd really like to watch that with you.
I do want to see it. Yeah.
I did not actually never. The first time I ever saw a Terminator movie was with you.
Really?
Yeah.
See, then it must have been Terminator 2 because I actually saw 2 before I saw 1.
Yeah,
and I've only seen the first movie I think 3 times total. Not to get on a side note that I guess we are this is all kind of side note, but I don't think Terminator 1
is the side note portion of the podcast.
I don't think Terminator 1 is almost I just don't care for it.
Yeah, I don't care for it that much. It's like
if we were to ever cover,
it's like Star Trek the motion picture to me.
Okay. If we were to ever cover Terminator, I almost feel like we should do 1 and 2 together because I'm probably going to have the most to say about Terminator 2, and we would probably just quickly run over our thoughts of Terminator 1.
Wholeheartedly agree.
So
yeah, we'll make a note of that and bring it to y'all.
So
in the future,
real quick before I forget, if anyone wants, they can email us at escapepodcast16@gmail.com if you have any comments, criticisms, suggestions. Anything you want us to maybe cover, we're kind of making this up as we go, not really...
A little bit.
Yeah, not exactly sure.
A little bit.
You know, what we want to do, or what movies coming up next. Obviously, we're going to cover all the Star Treks because obviously we're huge Star Trek guys here.
And we will be covering multiple other movies as well.
Well, yeah. And I want to get some. I would like to, but you know, I want to do some old like cheesy sci-fi, but I know you're not gonna like that. But then again, you're gonna make me watch Star Crap. And I'm not gonna like that. So
I'm gonna make you watch what?
Jar Jar Abrams, Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
or Star Crap.
I had to figure out what you were talking about. I was like, what?
I don't like his movies.
Well, you know what? It's the new one is not JJ. It's in his
still,
universe.
Yeah, it's still his universe.
But I gotta say, I'm excited about the new one more than I ever was about the last two.
Okay.
It's feeling a little bit more like Star Trek and less about the what the last two movies were about. And I'll say too, they updated the uniforms for the new movie. And I want to say this real quick because we were talking about
real quick
in the motion picture podcast we did last time. We were talking about how terrible the uniforms are in some cases.
Yeah.
And at some point I said I would have loved to see like an updated version of something like the original series for the motion picture. I feel like the new Star Trek Beyond movie coming out is exactly what I wanted to have seen in the motion picture. It's the original series colors, but it's got things like shoulder pads, and it's got a higher collar like the Next Generation style. Yeah. Kind of looks like a bellhop uniform.
I'm not saying everything about it is terrible, but like my main, and I said this last time, I'm saying it again. I don't even care. We can say what we want. I just feel like instead of redoing any of the shows or movies, they should have said, hey, this is 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever years into the future. Mm-hmm. This is a whole new ship. It doesn't even have to be the Enterprise. A whole new ship, a whole new crew. You do whatever you want. But by saying, oh, there was this crazy event that caused a split in the timeline, and so basically, blah, blah, blah. So now this is supposed to be the same people.
And we are going to use that event to explain all the changes.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't get on board with that.
Yeah.
And I think even if I would have hated these movies, if they'd done that, I still would have said, well, hey, at least they didn't mess up the real Star Trek.
Yeah. And I think I saw someone had approached JJ about doing that. Like, why'd you have to touch our beloved original series characters and ship? And
to give him credit, maybe the Paramount pushed that. Maybe they said, "Oh, we want you."
No,
to do...
that's his response to that.
Oh, was it?
His response was basically, "I didn't want to do I didn't want to go with another ship in the future, basically because he didn't want to be trapped in a box of pre-established timeline." And pre-established universe.
But he could have said it's the future. A million things are different. You can do whatever you want. You think it was more trapping in a box to him to say, hey, this is the original people from the original series and movies. That was a good idea. I got to set up too.
So, anyway, that was what I read at some point recently. But anyway, so I believe we are done for the night, good sir.
What are you talking about?
Raspberries.
Raspberries?
I'm so tired.
I'll do that. All right, then. Well, until next time, we will be drifting, praying for rescue.
In our escape pod.
Cast. See what we did there?
All right. Hashtag I saw.
Oh yeah, are you still doing that? Are you gonna do a Facebook or Twitter or whatever?
Yes, I'm going to.
Okay.
As soon as we have these things uploaded, I will get a page.
Okay, I mean I don't care. Yeah. I just know that's how most people do it. So
I don't think it would really make much sense to open up any social media just yet until we have these things online for people to hear it.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, escapepodcast16@gmail.com is our email. Send us any suggestions, comments, criticisms, whatevs.
Yes.
Okay.
Good night and good news. Hashtag LLAP.